I don't even know when it started feeling like this. The weight. It's been building for a while, I guess, but it feels so much heavier now. Each day, each decision I make is tangled in this constant low hum of anxiety. I wake up and my first thought isn't about what to do with my day, it's about the bills. About how much I need to make to stay afloat. And when I go to bed, that same weight is there, pressing on me, reminding me that tomorrow will be just as heavy, maybe heavier. I'm 24, barely starting to build a life, and yet I feel like I'm suffocating under the pressure of it all. I work 2 jobs, one full-time at a retail store and another part-time as a barista. The hours are long, the work is draining, and every paycheck feels like it barely scratches the surface. Every time I think I've made a dent in my debt, something else pops up. An unexpected medical bill, a sudden car repair, or the rising cost of groceries that means I can't stretch my dollar as far as I used to. Inflation, they say. I don't care for the word. It doesn't mean anything when it feels like my reality is slipping further out of reach every single day. I've had to cut back on so many things. Eating out? Not unless I'm working a double shift and get free food at the end of the night. Even then, I don't really enjoy it. There's a part of me that feels guilty, like I should have saved the money for something more important. That's what it's like when you're living paycheck to paycheck, everything is a trade-off. Want to go to the movies with friends? That's 2 weeks of gas money. Want to buy a new pair of shoes because the old ones are falling apart? Well, you can make do with a couple of holes in the soles. You'll survive. It's hard to explain how it feels to always be thinking about money. How it's always there, like a shadow. Even when I'm with my friends, I'm calculating. Can I afford that? How much will this set me back? Should I order the cheaper drink? If I splurge now, will it mean I'll be eating instant ramen for the next 3 days? And it's not just the little things. It's the big things, too. Like the future. I used to dream about getting a place of my own. A small apartment, something cozy where I could decorate and make it mine. But now? I don't even know how people do that. How do you go from struggling to make rent every month to buying your own place? I watch people online talk about their homes, their vacations, their life upgrades, and I feel, well, I don't know how to describe it. It's a mix of jealousy and hopelessness. They have things that I can't even dream of. They seem so far ahead, and I can't even get past this month. I've had to put off so many of my dreams. There was a time when I wanted to go back to school, to finish my degree, to study something that actually made me feel excited about my life. But that's just not realistic right now. How can I afford tuition when I can barely pay rent? How can I justify the time away from work, when every hour I'm not working is money I'm losing? So, I keep working, keep treading water, hoping for something to change. The worst part is that I don't feel like I'm getting any closer to a solution. The bills keep coming, the rent keeps rising, and my wages stay the same. I've heard about how people make it through hard work and perseverance, but I don't feel like I'm getting anywhere. I feel stuck in a cycle I can't escape, and every time I take a step forward, something else knocks me 2 steps back. And it's not just the practical stuff. It's how all this pressure affects my emotional well-being. I'm tired. All the time. Physically and mentally. And it's not just the exhaustion from working so much. It's the constant strain on my mind, worrying about bills, about the future, about whether I'm doing enough or if I'm just falling behind. It's the loneliness, too. Because it's hard to connect with others when you're so consumed by your own struggle. People don't get it, not really. They tell me to keep going, that it'll get better, that things will fall into place. But it doesn't feel that way. It feels like the more I try, the more I fall into this trap that I can't escape from. I've had days where I just break down, when the weight of everything feels too much. I cry in the middle of my shift at the coffee shop, and it's like I can't even stop myself. It's a release, but it's also a reminder that I can't keep going like this forever. I don't have the energy to keep pretending everything's fine when it feels like the world is closing in. But even on those days, I still show up. Because I don't have a choice. It's strange to think about the things I've given up. The spontaneous road trips with friends, the lazy afternoons spent just hanging out, not thinking about work or money or anything at all. And I don't know if I'll ever get those moments back. The way things are going, I don't see a way out. Every dream I've had for my future seems farther and farther out of reach, slipping through my fingers like sand. But I don't want to give up. I can't. I have to believe that there's something more waiting for me on the other side of this struggle. I just don't know what it is yet. Maybe it's a better job, maybe it's going back to school, maybe it's finding a way to live without this constant weight on my shoulders. But for now, I keep going. One step in front of the other, because what else can I do? I think the hardest part of all of this is feeling like I'm not doing enough. Like I should be farther along, like I should have figured this out by now. The world tells me I'm supposed to have it together, to be on top of things, to be achieving. But when you're stuck in a system where expenses grow faster than your income, how can you ever feel like you're moving forward? How can you ever feel like you're enough? I guess all I can do is keep hoping that one day, things will change. That one day, I won't have to live in this constant fear of falling behind. Until then, I'll keep fighting. I'll keep working, keep scraping by. Because that's all I can do. I just hope that somewhere along the way, I find the strength to believe that my future doesn't have to look like this forever. That I don't have to carry this weight every single day for the rest of my life. Maybe, just maybe, there's a way out. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. I wake up to the sound of my alarm blaring, that annoying tone that feels like it's drilled into my brain by now. It's 7 a.m., and the day's already heavy. I roll out of bed, groggy, trying to shake off the lingering sense of dread that's become my constant companion. The same weight presses on my chest every morning. I know what's ahead. It's another day of scrimping and saving, pretending everything is okay when it's not. The first thing I do is check my bank account. I wish I could say I've trained myself to resist, but I can't. The balance stares back at me with a cold indifference, a reminder of just how little is left after rent, utilities, and groceries. I remind myself, not for the first time, that I have to get a second job. I've been thinking about it for months. But every time I consider it, the thought of working even more hours makes me want to collapse back into bed. I can't do this anymore. I just can't. I get dressed, nothing special, just whatever's clean. The days when I would take time to pick out something I liked, something that made me feel good about myself, feel like I was living, seem like a distant memory. I throw on my worn sneakers and head out. The walk to work is long, but it's the only time I have to think, even though I try not to. Thoughts of debt, overdue bills, and the crushing weight of the next paycheck not stretching far enough flood my mind. The rising cost of everything, food, gas, utilities, feels like an endless cycle, a treadmill that speeds up faster than I can run. Work starts at 9 a.m., and I'm already exhausted before I even clock in. The job itself isn't terrible, but it doesn't pay nearly enough to cover my expenses. I try to tell myself I'm lucky to have a job at all, but that doesn't change the fact that I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. Every month, I juggle bills. Some get paid on time, others get delayed. The constant shuffle, the constant anxiety. It's not sustainable, but it's all I know how to do right now. The hours drag on. My coworkers are nice, but everyone's in the same boat. We all talk about how expensive everything is getting, how the raises aren't keeping up with inflation, how we're all trying to make ends meet. No one has any solutions, just shared frustration. On a good day, we might laugh about it, but there's always that underlying tension in the room. It's like we're all pretending to be okay, but we're not. I'm not. I leave work at 5 p.m., but I don't feel like I've accomplished anything. Sure, I've done my tasks, but the weight of everything, credit card bills, student loans, rent due in a week, is still hanging over me. I try to tell myself I'll figure it out, that I'm doing my best, but it feels like that's never enough. I don't know how I'm supposed to feel hopeful when every time I think about the future, it's just another pile of bills I don't know how to pay. I come home, and the apartment is small, crowded with the remnants of my life. The couch is old, the kitchen counter cluttered with takeout boxes I don't have the energy to clean up. I didn't have the energy to cook either. I'm too tired to make healthy choices, so I eat what's quick and easy. I hate myself a little bit for it, but there's no room in my life for guilt over things I can't control. The evenings are the hardest part of the day. This is when my mind starts to wander, when the weight of everything feels like it's about to break me. I think about the things I used to dream of, traveling, buying nice clothes, living in a place that feels like home, where I can afford to do more than just survive. I can't remember the last time I treated myself to something that wasn't absolutely necessary. If I wanted to go out to dinner with friends, I'd have to choose between paying for a meal and paying a bill. There's no room for luxuries anymore. Even the small ones. I used to dream about going back to school, finishing my degree, getting a job that felt meaningful. But the reality is that I can barely make enough money to pay for rent, let alone school fees. Every time I try to plan for the future, there's a voice in the back of my head telling me it's impossible. I wonder if this is what my life is going to be like forever, fighting to keep my head above water while the world around me gets more expensive, more complicated, and less forgiving. Sometimes I'll go to bed early, hoping for rest, hoping that maybe tomorrow things will feel better, that somehow I'll find the strength to keep going. But then I wake up again, the alarm blaring, and I'm right back at it. The cycle never stops. I tell myself I'll find a way out. I'm smart, I'm capable, I'll figure this out eventually. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm not going to get there in time. That the weight of it all will eventually crush me. I look around at other people, and I see the same exhaustion in their eyes. They're just like me, doing what they can to make ends meet, pretending they've got it together, waiting for a break that might never come. The worst part is that I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how to escape this system, this cycle. It's not just the cost of living that's crushing me, it's the fact that everything I've been told about what I'm supposed to do, work hard, get an education, build a future, feels like a lie. There's no room for that anymore. You work hard, and it's still not enough. The system's broken, but I don't know how to fix it. I've learned how to cope in small ways. I cut corners where I can, finding cheaper ways to get by. I don't buy new clothes unless absolutely necessary. I don't go out unless I absolutely have to. I tell myself that it's temporary, that I'll get through it, that one day it'll get better. But I've been saying that for years, and I'm not sure I believe it anymore. Some nights, when I can't sleep because my mind won't stop racing, I imagine a different life, a life where I'm not constantly worried about money, where I don't have to make impossible choices between bills and groceries. I imagine what it would be like to have the luxury of dreaming, of pursuing something bigger than just surviving. I wonder if that life is ever going to happen for me. But for now, I just keep going. One step in front of the other, no matter how heavy the weight of it all feels. I don't have a choice. I can't afford to stop. I woke up this morning, just like every other morning, with that familiar tightness in my chest. The weight of the world feels heavier when you're living paycheck to paycheck. I don't even know why I check my bank account anymore, it's always the same story, barely enough to make it through. But I can't help it. I tell myself it'll get better, but it never does. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm drowning in an ocean of bills and obligations, with no life raft in sight. I graduated from college 3 years ago with a degree in marketing. I was told that if I worked hard, put in the hours, the world would open up to me. I'd get a good job, save money, and maybe even buy a house one day. But here I am, stuck in a small, overpriced apartment in a city I can barely afford to live in, with a degree that feels like it wasn't even worth the paper it's printed on. I'm working as a marketing assistant for a mid-sized company, and the pay is, well, it's just enough to keep the lights on. At first, I was hopeful. I thought if I just worked hard enough, if I was good enough, I'd get promoted, and everything would start to click into place. But that hasn't happened. 3 years in, and I'm still at the bottom of the ladder. I know how to do my job, but there are no raises, no promotions. And now, every time I check my bank account, I see the gap between where I am and where I want to be growing wider. It's not just the job, though. It's the system. I feel trapped in a cycle where everything keeps costing more, but my income stays the same. Rent is up. Groceries are up. Gas is up. And every time I turn around, there's another expense. I had to fix my car last month, and that cost more than I expected. My student loans are taking a huge chunk of my paycheck. I can barely save anything, let alone invest in my future. It's as if the world is moving forward, and I'm just standing still. I don't know if it's the economy or if I'm just unlucky. My friends seem to be doing better, at least from the outside. They post pictures of their vacations, of new apartments, of their new cars, and I can't help but feel this gnawing sense of jealousy. How do they afford all of this? Am I doing something wrong? I thought I was doing everything right, went to school, worked hard, got a job. But I'm still stuck. I know it's not just about stuff. It's not just about wanting new things. But when you're working hard and can't afford even basic comforts, it's hard not to get discouraged. I want to be able to take a weekend trip to somewhere new, to go out to dinner without checking the prices on the menu, to not feel guilty when I want to buy a new sweater because it's on sale. It's these little things that start to feel like they're slipping away, and when they do, it feels like the dreams I had for my future are slipping away too. I used to dream about traveling the world, about owning my own place, about being able to support myself without having to constantly worry about money. Now, those dreams feel so far out of reach. I sometimes wonder if they're even possible. I've had to put so many things on hold, getting a new laptop, taking a vacation, upgrading my living situation. And there's a deeper layer to it, too. I'm scared that I'll never be able to afford the life I want. That I'll keep grinding away, year after year, and still be stuck in the same place. That I'll never get ahead. When I sit with my thoughts long enough, I can't help but feel like a failure. I've had moments where I've cried over a missed opportunity or a bill that I couldn't pay on time. I've had nights where I stare at the ceiling, overwhelmed by the thought of how much further behind I feel. I watch people my age buying houses, starting families, getting ahead, and I wonder if I'm just not cut out for it. If I'll always be struggling. But here's the thing, I'm tired. I'm tired of feeling guilty for not having more, for not being able to do everything I thought I'd be able to do by now. I'm tired of letting the pressure build up until I can't breathe. So, I try to cope. I keep working hard, even when it feels like I'm not making progress. I tell myself that I'll figure it out, that this is just a phase, that eventually things will get better. I try to find moments of peace, like when I'm walking home after work, enjoying the feeling of the sun on my face, or when I'm reading a book I've been meaning to get to. Little moments of joy that help me forget about the stress for a while. But the pressure is always there, lurking in the background. I've tried to cut back on my spending, but it doesn't seem to help much. I don't go out much anymore. I try to make my meals at home. I don't buy anything unless I absolutely have to. But even then, the gap between what I make and what I spend feels impossible to close. I try to stick to a budget, but it feels like the numbers don't add up. When something unexpected happens, like my car breaking down or my phone dying, it throws everything off. And I can't keep up. I tell myself that it's okay, that this is just part of being young. But I don't know how long I can keep pretending that everything is fine when it's not. I don't know how much longer I can keep putting off my dreams because I can't afford them. The fear of staying stuck, of not having enough to make a real change, is overwhelming. I guess, if I'm being honest, I don't know how to get out of this. I don't know how to climb out of the hole that I've found myself in. But every day, I try. I keep working. I keep looking for ways to save. I try to hold on to the hope that things will get better, that one day I'll be able to breathe easier. I just have to make it through today. And then tomorrow, I'll try again. But right now, that's all I can do, survive. I just hope that someday, somehow, I'll get ahead. I wake up every morning to the same soft hum of the world outside my window, cars on the street, the occasional honk of a horn, the faint chatter of people walking by. It's the soundtrack of my life, a steady reminder that the world keeps moving even when it feels like I'm stuck. I roll out of bed, stretch, and glance at my phone. No notifications, just the time, 8:15 a.m. I sigh, run a hand through my hair, and shuffle into the kitchen. The fridge is almost empty again. There's a container of leftover rice and a half-eaten apple from last night, but that's it. I should have gone grocery shopping, but I didn't have the energy, and honestly, I didn't have the money for anything more than the basics. Breakfast is a cup of coffee, instant, the cheap kind that comes in a tin. I'll add some sugar, no milk. It's not exactly a choice, it's what's available. I've gotten used to it, though. I try not to think about how much better my mornings used to feel when I had the time and resources to make something healthier, something that felt like I was taking care of myself. As I sip the coffee, I pull up my bank account on my phone. I don't know why I do it. I already know what it's going to look like, barely any balance, with upcoming bills looming like shadows waiting to strike. Rent, utilities, the student loan payment I can't afford, the credit card bills I can't keep up with. I just want to see if somehow, some miracle, there's been a deposit I wasn't expecting. But there hasn't been. It's the same. I'm treading water, but it feels like I'm sinking anyway. I close the app and sit there for a moment. The weight of it presses on me like a physical thing. Financial stress is such an isolating experience. It gnaws at your self-worth. I've been in this position for years, ever since I graduated. The world feels like it's out of my reach, but also within reach in the cruelest of ways. You can see what you could have, what you could do, if only the numbers lined up. But they never do. I throw on some clothes and head out the door, leaving my apartment that's small but somehow still feels too big. I walk to the bus stop because I can't afford a car. Public transportation is cheap, but it's a constant reminder of how much I'm giving up just to scrape by. I see people driving their cars as I wait for the bus, and for a moment, I wonder what it would be like to have that freedom, to just go wherever you want, whenever you want. The bus ride is a blur. People lost in their phones, the hum of the engine. I try not to pay too much attention to the conversations around me, the small talk that feels so foreign. I've stopped making friends the way I used to. I don't have time, and I don't have the emotional bandwidth. Everyone's dealing with their own version of this, pressure, stress, the constant grind, but it's hard to connect when you're in survival mode all the time. At work, the grind doesn't stop. I'm in an entry-level position, barely making enough to cover my bills. The office is stuffy, a bit too cold, and I can feel the weight of all the other employees around me, each one with their own quiet anxieties. I'm constantly aware of my own exhaustion, how much of me is left to give. The work doesn't challenge me, but it's consuming in its own way. The mental toll is worse than the physical one. During lunch, I open my phone again and scroll through social media. People are doing things, traveling, going out with friends, buying new clothes, living lives that seem so far away from my reality. I try not to get jealous, but sometimes it's hard not to. I've had to put my dreams on hold for so long that it feels like they're slipping through my fingers. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a degree that would open up more doors, but every time I think about it, I'm reminded of the mountain of debt I'm already buried under. I wanted to travel, see the world, do something exciting, but now it just feels like something that only other people get to do. I push the phone back into my bag. I shouldn't even be looking at that stuff. But it's hard not to dream, even when it feels so distant. By the time I get home, it's late, and I'm drained. There's no energy left for cooking, so I heat up the rice from this morning and eat it with the apple. It's a sad dinner, but it's filling, and right now, that's enough. I try to remind myself that things could be worse, that I'm lucky I even have a roof over my head. But sometimes, it feels like I'm just existing instead of living. I turn off the lights and lie in bed, the weight of everything pressing down on me again. My mind races with all the things I'm trying to juggle: bills, work, the future I don't know how to plan for. There are days when it feels like I'm carrying the world on my shoulders, and it's getting heavier with each passing month. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone in this struggle. Everyone's feeling it, in their own way. The world is just hard right now. But it doesn't make it any easier. I've stopped making grand plans for the future because I don't want to get my hopes up, only to have them crushed again. I try to stay grounded, just take things day by day, but it's exhausting. I think about the dreams I used to have. They feel so distant now, like they belong to someone else. I wanted to be a writer, to travel and experience the world with an open heart, to build something meaningful. Now I just want to make it through the month. To not be constantly worried about how I'm going to pay for everything. To not feel like I'm drowning. But every now and then, I get a glimpse of something better. It's small, a moment of peace, a burst of creativity when I'm writing in my journal, or a kind word from someone who doesn't know the weight I'm carrying. It's enough to remind me that I'm still capable of dreaming, even if it feels like those dreams are on hold for now. I don't know what the future holds. I don't know how long I'll be stuck in this cycle, or if I'll ever break free from it. But I try to hold on to the idea that things can get better, even if it takes time. I'll keep going, even if it feels like the world is against me. Maybe one day, I'll look back at this and see how far I've come. Or maybe I'll just keep pushing forward, one day at a time. Either way, I'm here. And I'm still trying. I wake up to the same thing every morning, my phone vibrating on the nightstand with notifications. The sun hasn't even fully risen, but my mind is already a swirl of anxious thoughts. I don't want to look at my bank account. I know it won't be pretty. But somehow, I have to. It's like a constant cycle of denial, and then guilt, then a brief attempt to ignore it before reality crashes down on me again. It's the end of the month. Rent is due in 2 days. I don't know how I'm going to make it this time. I know I'm not alone in this, but it doesn't make it any easier to face. There's a weight on my chest as I scroll through the bills, credit card payments, utilities, groceries, the student loan that feels like it's a shadow following me wherever I go. The numbers just keep going up, but my paycheck feels stuck in place. I'm working full-time. I have been for almost 2 years. I should be grateful, right? So many people are struggling just to get their foot in the door, but at the same time, I feel like I'm drowning. It's like every time I take a breath, the water rises a little higher. I've tried to budget, really. But every time I get close to making ends meet, something unexpected happens: my car breaks down, a medical bill arrives, or the price of gas jumps another 10 cents. Sometimes, I wonder if I'd even know what it felt like to not be on edge about money. There's no room for much else in my life. No extra dinners out with friends, no spontaneous weekend getaways. Even when I do want to do something for myself, like pick up a book or a new pair of shoes I've had my eye on, I hesitate. I know the little pleasures add up, and I've already stretched my budget too thin. I've gotten good at saying no. No, I can't go to that concert. No, I can't make it to your birthday party. It's not just about the money, it's about the mental energy it takes to keep pretending I'm okay. But the worst part is the feeling of being trapped in a system that's only designed to take from you. I feel like a hamster running in a wheel, going faster and faster, but getting nowhere. I see friends who are buying homes, getting married, and having babies, and I wonder how they're doing it. Do they feel the same way I do? Are they as scared as I am when they check their bank account? Or are they somehow immune to it all? I tell myself I'll be okay. That this is temporary. That someday I'll get ahead, or maybe even find a job that pays more, or somehow figure out how to break free from this endless cycle. But right now, it feels impossible. Every day feels like a fight, just trying to stay afloat, just trying to make sure I don't sink too deep into debt or despair. It's exhausting. I'm always exhausted. I've had to postpone so many of my dreams. Things I thought I'd have by now, traveling, buying a decent car, being able to take a week off just to breathe. Instead, I'm holding on to scraps, always feeling like I'm just one unexpected cost away from disaster. There's no space in my life for the kind of freedom I want, the kind I used to imagine. I used to dream about living in a city I love, working a job that excites me, and having a social life without feeling guilty for every penny I spend. But now, it feels like those dreams are fading, slipping farther and farther out of reach. Even the small things I've tried to make work are falling apart. My phone is on its last legs, but replacing it would cost almost a month's rent. I haven't had the energy to fix it or the time to even shop around for something cheaper. It feels silly, but it's just another reminder of how everything is constantly breaking down around me. Like my life is held together by duct tape and hope. I can't remember the last time I wasn't worrying about something. It's like every decision I make is a calculation, a risk assessment. Can I afford to buy lunch today, or should I skip it and eat something I already have at home? Can I afford to fill up the gas tank, or should I wait until the price drops a little, hoping it won't go up again? Should I pay for an extra therapy session this month, or save it for an emergency? It feels like living in survival mode, constantly prioritizing things that only keep me afloat but never getting ahead. I cope in little ways. Sometimes it's watching a mindless TV show, zoning out for an hour to forget about everything. Other times, I just distract myself by scrolling through social media, watching people in better circumstances than me seem so effortlessly happy. But deep down, I know I'm not alone in this. I know people who are even worse off than I am, and that makes me feel a strange sense of both solidarity and guilt. But it doesn't make it any easier. I've started trying to reframe my perspective a little. I tell myself that maybe this struggle is shaping me into someone stronger, someone who will appreciate things more when the tide finally turns. But it's hard to believe that when all I feel is this weight, this tightness in my chest that never seems to let up. I have to remind myself to take it day by day. Some days, I can do it. I can make it. I can get through the workday without thinking too much about the bills. Other days, it's just too much, and I cry in the shower or stare at the ceiling, wondering how I got here. Wondering if it will ever change. And then there are the days when I catch myself thinking about the future. I wonder if I'll ever get to a place where I'm not living paycheck to paycheck, where I don't have to fight so hard just to make sure I'm not falling further behind. Will I ever have enough room to breathe, to make choices that don't feel so weighted down by financial pressure? Or is this my life now? The truth is, I don't know. I don't know if things will get better, or if this is just what I'm stuck with. But I try to hold on to the belief that someday, somehow, things will change. And if they don't, well, at least I'll have learned something. At least I'll have fought through this, and maybe that's worth something too. Until then, I'll keep waking up. I'll keep facing those bills, that constant pressure, and I'll keep moving forward, even if it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. Because what else is there to do? It's hard to keep dreaming when the weight of the world feels like it's pressing down on you. But I have to believe that if I just keep going, I might get to the other side of this. That maybe, one day, I'll find that place where I'm not just surviving, but living again. That's what keeps me going. Even if it's just a tiny spark of hope, it's enough for now. For now, that's all I've got. I wake up to the buzz of my phone, the light spilling through my apartment window in that harsh, unwelcoming way that early mornings seem to do. It's a Tuesday, but it might as well be any day in the endless loop of work, bills, and never-ending to-dos. I roll over and glance at the clock, 7:15 a.m. A late start again. I throw on the same pair of jeans I've worn for the past 3 days and a sweater that's starting to look a little too worn out. The fabric's starting to pill in places, but it's comfortable, and honestly, I don't have the mental energy to care about anything else today. I check my bank account. The numbers make my stomach twist, like an unexpected punch. Rent's due in 5 days, and I've already moved money around just to make sure I don't go overdraft before that. I've set up automatic transfers from my savings into my checking account to cover the little things. The coffee I get to keep myself awake during long shifts, a snack when I can't afford to eat a proper meal. It feels like a slow leak of my sense of stability, but what else can I do? I'm stretched so thin that it almost hurts to take a full breath. The economy feels like a shadow looming over every decision I make. It's hard to imagine a future where things aren't just a struggle. My job is decent, nothing fancy, but it barely covers the essentials, let alone any kind of future plan. The raises are barely noticeable, and the cost of living keeps skyrocketing. Every few months, the rent increases, like clockwork. Groceries? They're more expensive every single week, and the thought of spending money on anything extra makes me feel sick. Eating out with friends has become a rare treat, something I get nervous about even asking for. Do I really need this? I ask myself as I'm swiping my card at the checkout counter, every purchase feeling like a tiny betrayal. I'm constantly thinking about how little I have left after each paycheck. It's an exhausting mental game, calculating bills, food, gas, and anything else. There's always something I've forgotten, some surprise expense that just seems to pop up at the worst possible moment. And then, I just freeze. There's no room to breathe. There's no wiggle room. It's a feeling of being trapped, like there's this wall around me that I can't break through. The thought of saving even a little bit of money feels impossible when my expenses are already too close to the line. And it's not just about the money. It's about everything else, the emotions that come with it. I'm angry, frustrated, and overwhelmed. Sometimes, I feel like a failure because I can't make it work. I should be doing better. People my age are buying homes, getting promotions, living lives that seem so much more together than mine. Every time I hear someone talk about their financial goals or their new purchases, I feel a tightness in my chest. It's not their fault, but it just feels like another reminder of how far behind I am, how far away I am from anything close to stability. Then there's the guilt. The constant nagging feeling that I'm doing something wrong. My friends always tell me to relax, to not stress about it too much, but how do I tell them that it's not that easy? How do I explain that I can't even relax for a moment because every day is just a balancing act between spending and surviving? The pressure gets to me when I try to sleep. I lie awake at night thinking about everything, how far behind I am on life's checklist, how I'll never be able to afford to travel like I've always dreamed, how I'll never have the time or the money to invest in myself the way I want to. Some days, I tell myself to just keep going, that things will get better if I can just hold on long enough. But then there are the days when it feels impossible, when I'm just so tired. I had dreams once, bigger dreams than this. I thought I'd have the freedom to make choices based on what I loved, not what I could afford. I wanted to start my own business, be my own boss. I wanted to be able to take a few months off and travel to places that weren't just places in books. I wanted to make enough money to enjoy life. I wanted to live without constantly watching my bank balance like a hawk, hoping it won't dip too low before the next paycheck comes. But those dreams, they seem further away every time I check my account. Sometimes, I think about how much I've already had to put on hold. I wanted to go back to school, to get a master's degree in something I really care about, but the cost of education, let alone the lost income while I study, feels like a dream too far out of reach. I've told myself I'll go when things settle down, when the money makes sense, but deep down, I know it's never going to happen that way. Every day I spend juggling expenses and struggling just to stay afloat. That future feels like it's slipping farther and farther away. I can't help but wonder if I'll ever be able to afford the things that truly matter to me, like feeling free or knowing that I'm in control of my life. I don't know how to fix it. I try to stay optimistic, but the reality of living in a system where everything costs more and more and the wages just don't match up is suffocating. It's hard to focus on anything else when I'm drowning in these pressures, and it feels like all I'm doing is swimming against a current that's getting stronger and stronger. Sometimes, I tell myself that I'll be okay, that things will eventually turn around, but I'm not sure how long I can keep telling myself that before the weight of it all wears me down. How long can I hold on to hope before it feels like a lie? How long can I convince myself that one day things will get better when every day feels just as hard as the last? I don't know the answer, but right now, I just have to keep moving, keep trying to make it through the day. I don't have the luxury of stopping, of pausing, of giving up. Not yet. Maybe I'll figure it out one day, maybe things will change, or maybe I'll just learn how to live with this pressure. But for now, it's the reality I have to face. It's just one day at a time, one paycheck at a time. And somehow, that's all I've got left to hold on to. I woke up this morning with a knot in my stomach. It's not the kind of knot that goes away after a few hours, or even by the time I have my coffee. It's that constant pressure, that low hum of anxiety that never really leaves me. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm stuck in a loop. Every day, it's the same grind: work, pay bills, repeat. The idea of getting ahead seems like something I only read about, not something that's possible for me. When I graduated from college 3 years ago, I had big dreams. I thought the world would open up to me if I worked hard enough. I had a degree in communications and a job lined up, a marketing assistant position at a small firm in the city. They promised growth. They promised raises and promotions. But 3 years in, nothing has changed. I'm still in the same entry-level position, scraping by, hoping that the next paycheck will stretch just a little further than the last. I wake up every day with a tightness in my chest that never quite goes away. My paycheck doesn't last as long as I need it to, and everything feels like it's getting more expensive. Rent. Groceries. Utilities. Car insurance. It all keeps going up, but my salary stays the same. I don't understand how people are supposed to live like this. How are we supposed to build a future when we're constantly just trying to survive? I remember when I first moved into my apartment. I was excited to have my own space, a place where I could build my life. But now it feels like a trap. The rent is way more than I can afford, and I know I'm not the only one. My friends are in the same boat. We all laugh about it, try to act like it's no big deal, but it is. It really is. Every month, I wonder how I'm going to make ends meet. There's always something unexpected: car repairs, medical bills, or a flat tire, that pushes me further into the red. I've been working overtime, picking up extra shifts when I can, but it's like running on a treadmill that keeps getting faster. No matter how much effort I put in, I'm not getting ahead. It's like the harder I try, the further I fall behind. I feel trapped in a system that's rigged to keep people like me in place. I don't even want to think about the future anymore. The idea of buying a house or saving for retirement feels so far out of reach that it's almost laughable. I've had to give up so many things I used to dream about. I used to imagine traveling the world, seeing new places, experiencing new cultures. But I haven't left the city in 2 years. The thought of a vacation is so far from my reality, it feels like a distant memory. I used to dream of going to concerts, buying new clothes, living without worrying about every purchase. But now? Now I count every penny. I cut coupons, make grocery lists, and plan my spending with the precision of a military operation. There's no room for spontaneity, no room for joy. I can't help but compare myself to others. It's hard not to when everyone around you seems to be doing better. My friends post pictures on social media of their vacations, their new apartments, their new cars, and I wonder how they're managing. Are they making more money than I am? Or are they just better at pretending they have it all together? Maybe they have help from their parents. Maybe I'm just not cut out for this adulting thing. I used to think if I worked hard enough, I'd get what I deserved. But now I'm not so sure. The thing is, I don't want to admit how hard it's been. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to seem like I'm complaining. People will tell me to just keep working hard, that things will get better, but deep down I know that isn't always true. Things don't just get better on their own. And it's exhausting to keep pretending like I'm okay when I'm not. It's exhausting to put on a smile and act like everything is fine when the truth is, I'm constantly worried about money. I try to cope in small ways. I binge-watch TV shows to escape, or I lose myself in a book for a few hours. But even then, I can't stop thinking about the bills piling up on the kitchen counter or the credit card statement that's due. I've had to put off so many things, things I wanted to do for myself, things I needed to do for my future. I've had to postpone plans for a career change, for traveling, for buying things that would make my life feel a little bit easier. I've had to give up dreams because I can't afford them. The hardest part is when I think about the future. I used to imagine that by now I'd be settled, that I'd have a plan, that I'd be saving up for something, anything. But now, the future feels like a fog. I can't see it clearly. I don't know if I'll ever be able to afford a house, if I'll ever have enough savings to feel secure. I can't even think about retirement because I'm still trying to figure out how to pay rent next month. I know I'm not alone in this. Everyone I know is facing the same struggles. But that doesn't make it easier. If anything, it just makes me feel more helpless. The system isn't built for people like me to get ahead. And I don't know what to do about it. I don't know how to break out of this cycle. So I keep pushing. I keep showing up to work, hoping that someday things will change. I keep telling myself that maybe the next opportunity will be the one that helps me get ahead, that maybe someday I'll be able to afford a life where I don't have to constantly worry about money. But I don't know if that day will ever come. Right now, I'm just trying to survive. I tell myself that it's okay to feel this way, that it's okay to struggle. But it's hard. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing, like I'm falling behind, like I'm trapped. I just keep hoping that someday things will be different, that I'll find a way out of this mess. Until then, I'll keep going. One day at a time. I wake up before my alarm every day. It's not that I want to, it's just that my mind never really lets me sleep past that point. The familiar hum of stress fills the room before my feet even touch the floor. My phone screen flashes, displaying the time, and I already know, another day of balancing numbers in my head, of trying to make things work in a world that feels like it's constantly shifting beneath me. I don't know when it all started to feel like this, like I was sinking into a quicksand of bills, responsibilities, and expectations. When I was younger, I used to dream big. I thought I'd have the luxury of time to explore, to travel, to build a life that was about more than just surviving. I'd imagined myself in a cozy apartment, a well-paying job I loved, maybe a garden on the windowsill. I thought by the time I was 25, I'd have something resembling stability. Now, at 24, stability feels like a distant, unattainable dream. The numbers are always the first thing on my mind. Rent. Utilities. Credit card payments. Student loans. And that's before I even get to food, gas, or the occasional social obligation, which I always end up avoiding because I can't afford to keep up with the others. My paycheck comes in, and I'm already behind. The rent eats up nearly half of it. Then there's the car payment, phone bill, and the amount I still owe on my student loans. I keep track of it all in an app, and every time I check it, it feels like the numbers are mocking me. It's not that I'm bad with money, I've never been reckless, but everything costs more than it should, and my paycheck has barely budged. The inflation has been relentless. I've had to make choices I never thought I would. Do I pay for the prescription I need, or do I buy groceries this week? Do I skip that dentist appointment for the second time in a row? The other day, I had to decide whether I could afford a new pair of shoes after mine started to fall apart. I didn't buy them. My shoes are still barely holding together, but it's not like I had a choice. The luxury of choosing what I want over what I need feels like a foreign concept now. I'm constantly calculating, always thinking 2 steps ahead, trying to make sure the numbers add up. It feels like there's no space to breathe in between the deadlines and the bills. Some days, I just want to ignore it all. I want to shut off my phone, close my eyes, and pretend I'm someone else, somewhere else, living a life where money isn't a constant source of anxiety. But I can't. I can't afford to shut it all off, even for a moment. The world around me keeps turning, and I can't afford to be left behind. I've learned to cope in small ways. When I'm feeling especially overwhelmed, I'll take a walk, even if it's just around the block. It's not much, but for a few minutes, it feels like I'm escaping the weight of my own thoughts. Sometimes, I let myself spend a few minutes scrolling through Instagram, looking at the lives that seem so much easier than mine. I know it's not real, it's just curated highlights, but it still stings. Everyone else seems to be doing just fine, living their best lives while I'm stuck here, counting pennies and worrying about how to make it through another week. I've also started to avoid anything that reminds me of my dreams. The things I thought I'd have by now, the things that would make life feel worth it: travel, a better job, a sense of freedom. I wanted to write, to create something meaningful. But every time I sit down to try, the weight of my financial situation crushes the motivation. How can I justify chasing a dream when I'm already struggling to cover the basics? Every what if feels like a punch to the gut. What if I could quit this job? What if I could start a business? What if I could finally write that novel? But I can't afford to entertain those thoughts. Not when I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I try not to think too far ahead because I can't bear the thought of a future where things never get better. I used to imagine myself getting older, building a life full of joy and experiences. But now, my future feels like an endless cycle of bills and worry. I'm tired. Tired of fighting to stay afloat. Tired of wondering if things will ever change. It's like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to keep me small, to keep me just above drowning, but never enough to breathe freely. And yet, there are days when I can still feel a flicker of hope. I remind myself that I'm doing the best I can with what I have. I remind myself that every small victory counts. Like the day I managed to save a few dollars by skipping my morning coffee and making it at home. Or the day I found a cheaper insurance plan that saved me $20 a month. It's not much, but it's something. Sometimes, it's enough to get me through another week. I try to hold on to the belief that things will improve eventually. That maybe, just maybe, I'll find a way to make more money or land a job that pays better. But deep down, I'm not sure I believe it. I've heard too many stories of people working hard, doing everything right, and still coming up short. The dream of a better future sometimes feels like a cruel joke, a distant illusion I can never quite touch. But I haven't given up completely. I can't afford to. I hold on to that flicker of hope, no matter how small. I think about what I would do if money wasn't a constant concern. If I could write full-time, if I could take a trip to a place I've always wanted to visit, if I could just enjoy a life where I don't have to plan every single decision around my bank account. I don't know when the pressure will let up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. But for now, I'm doing my best. Some days, that's all I can do, keep moving forward, even when it feels like I'm walking on a tightrope with no safety net below. I just have to trust that eventually, the tightrope will end, and I'll find solid ground again. Maybe it's wishful thinking. Maybe it's the only thing keeping me going. But either way, I hold on. Tomorrow, I'll wake up again, and the cycle will start over. But today, I keep going. That's all I can do. Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up to the sound of my phone alarm buzzing loudly, piercing through the haze of sleep that still clings to my mind. It's 6:30 a.m. Another day. I roll out of bed, feet hitting the cold wooden floor, and immediately my thoughts race to the stack of bills on the kitchen counter. There's a feeling in my stomach that's all too familiar, a constant knot, like the weight of the world is pressing down on me, just waiting for me to crack. It wasn't always like this. I remember when I used to dream freely, of moving to a big city, of pursuing a career I loved, of finally feeling like I had control over my life. But now, it feels like I'm just surviving. I can't even afford to get my car fixed without taking on more debt. I've been driving around with a cracked windshield for months because I couldn't justify the cost of a replacement. Every time I look at it, I feel a sinking sensation, like I'm watching my future slip away piece by piece. I'm 24, and somehow, I've already hit this point where the weight of adulthood feels heavier than I ever imagined. I live in a tiny apartment, one of those places that looks like it's been stuck in time, with peeling paint on the walls and a broken heater that never quite works right. It's enough to get by, but it feels like I'm constantly on the edge of falling behind. Rent takes up more than half of my paycheck. The rest goes to food, utilities, and gas for my car, barely enough to make it through the month. I hate how I've had to adjust my expectations. I used to dream of having savings, of buying a house, of being able to treat myself to a vacation without guilt. But now, those things feel so far out of reach. I feel like I'm running a race where the finish line keeps getting pushed further away. Every time I think I've caught up, I fall back again. My income is stagnant, but my bills grow. Every month, it's the same conversation with myself: do I pay the credit card this month or the phone bill? Should I get the essentials and hope the rest of the expenses work themselves out? This pressure, it's constant. It's in the way I shop for groceries, looking at every price tag like it's a decision that could make or break my budget. I don't even remember the last time I bought something for myself without immediately questioning if I could justify it. I scan the store, picking up items only to put them back because I just don't have the luxury of spending freely anymore. Even a $5 coffee feels extravagant, like I'm wasting my chance to make it through the month. And the emotional toll, it wears on me every day. I find myself feeling small, insignificant in the grand scheme of things. Every time I scroll through social media and see friends posting pictures of their vacations or new gadgets, a sharp ache settles in my chest. I should be happy for them, I know. But sometimes, I can't help but wonder when it will be my turn. When will I get to enjoy life without feeling this constant sense of dread in the pit of my stomach? It's hard to even talk about it with anyone. I feel ashamed, like I should have everything figured out by now. My friends tell me I'm doing okay, that I'm doing my best, but I don't feel like I am. I feel like I'm constantly running on a treadmill, trying to keep up, but knowing I'll never be able to reach my goals if the system keeps holding me back. I've been stuck in this loop for years, graduating from college, working minimum wage jobs, hustling at side gigs, doing everything I can to make ends meet. But with inflation eating up whatever small progress I've made, it feels like I'm living in a world where nothing ever gets better. The dream of becoming a writer, the thing I used to hold on to when the world seemed wide open and full of possibilities, it's hard to even imagine anymore. How can I focus on writing when I'm constantly thinking about how to pay rent or keep the lights on? When people ask what I want to do with my life, I smile and say I'm working on it, but the truth is, I feel like I've lost the time to work on anything that truly matters to me. I've put off so many things I once thought were achievable. I postponed dreams of traveling, of living somewhere that feels like home, of investing in my personal growth. Every dream feels like it has to be tucked away for later. The problem is, later keeps getting further away, and with it, my hope that anything will change. Sometimes I think about the people who have it easier, the ones who don't have to work themselves into the ground just to stay afloat. I try not to envy them, but I can't help it. I wonder if I'll ever be able to get to that place where I can breathe again, where I don't feel like the weight of the world is on my shoulders every single day. But even that feels like a fantasy now, like a dream I've outgrown or been priced out of. I know I can't keep living like this forever. At some point, something has to give. But it's hard to imagine a way out when every path seems blocked. Maybe if I had more time, more energy, more support, things would be different. But right now, I feel trapped in a system that's too big for me to change, a system that rewards only the lucky few and leaves the rest of us scrambling to make ends meet. And yet, I'm still here, still waking up every day, still fighting to survive. There's a part of me that refuses to give up. I can't let myself believe this is all I'll ever be, that this cycle of struggle is my destiny. Some days, I look back at the person I used to be, so full of hope and ambition, and I try to hold on to that, even if it feels like a distant memory. I tell myself that one day, maybe when the weight isn't so heavy, I'll find my way again. But today? Today I just keep moving forward, one step at a time, hoping that maybe tomorrow will be a little bit easier. Or at least, I hope I'll be able to handle it better than I do today. I wake up to the soft buzz of my phone alarm, and for a moment, I don't want to open my eyes. The weight of another day, another series of choices, of endless juggling between what I need and what I can afford, presses down on me even before I get out of bed. I roll over and check the time, 7:30 a.m. That gives me exactly 45 minutes to get ready for work, if I move quickly. Another day of rushing, just to stay afloat. I can't remember the last time I didn't feel like I was running just to keep from falling behind. My apartment is small, cramped, and cluttered with the remnants of the past few years. A couch that's seen better days, a couple of mismatched chairs, an old coffee table that wobbles. I don't mind the smallness of the space, but it's hard to ignore the way the walls seem to close in sometimes, especially when I'm sitting on the couch, staring at the same bills, the same reminders that my bank account is barely enough to cover the basics. There's always that nagging feeling that I'm losing ground. I know I'm not the only one. Every day, it seems like more and more people are struggling with the same thing, expenses climbing higher, wages staying stagnant, and the constant worry that something unexpected will push me over the edge. But knowing I'm not alone doesn't really help when I'm looking at my own life, my own finances, and the growing list of things I can't afford. I've been working full-time for 3 years now. I graduated with a degree that seemed promising enough, but it's clear now that it wasn't the golden ticket I thought it would be. My salary doesn't match my ambitions, or even my basic needs. Rent takes up almost half of it, and the rest goes to food, utilities, the occasional gas for my car. Every month, I try to cut back somewhere. I tell myself I'll make it work. But I'm exhausted. There's no room for anything beyond the essentials, and barely enough left over to even think about a future. It's 8:15 now. I pull on a jacket over my work clothes, grab the coffee I brewed earlier, and head out the door. My car is parked 2 blocks down, and I can't help but wince every time I see the tire pressure warning light on my dashboard. I know it's just one more thing I'll have to pay for soon, another repair I can't afford. I remind myself that I can't fix everything at once. Just keep going. Work is the same. I put my head down, do my job, keep my nose clean. I know I'm not going to get any raises anytime soon. In fact, the last one I got was so small, it barely made a difference. The economy is bad, they say. Things are tight everywhere. But I'm starting to wonder how long that excuse is going to last. The hardest part isn't just the constant financial strain. It's the way it seeps into everything else. The way I constantly have to make choices that leave me feeling small, insignificant. When was the last time I treated myself to something? A meal out? A new pair of shoes that weren't on sale? I can't even remember. I've learned to be okay with saying no to things I want. I tell myself, it's just temporary, but every day feels like a series of little sacrifices that never seem to add up to anything better. It's easy to tell myself that things will get better someday. Maybe when I get a promotion, or when the economy turns around, or when I somehow find a way to make more money. But I can't shake the feeling that I'm on a hamster wheel, just running in place. I get so tired of the constant push and pull between trying to stay optimistic and knowing, deep down, that my chances for a break are slim. I can't even remember the last time I had a real day off. Even on weekends, there's always something hanging over my head. A bill I need to pay, an email I've been putting off, a job application that needs to be submitted. I dream of taking a weekend trip, escaping for a few days, but I can't bring myself to even entertain the thought. I'd rather stay home and save the $100 it would cost for a one-night hotel stay. It's like I'm trapped in a cycle of always trying to make the most responsible choice, but every choice feels like a chain that binds me tighter. And then there are the moments when I stop and think about the future. There's this nagging thought that maybe I'm just going to be stuck here, in this small apartment, with this barely adequate paycheck, forever. I wonder if I'll ever be able to afford a home, a family, the things I used to dream about. I try to remind myself that I'm still young, that I have time, but time feels like it's slipping away, and the gap between my dreams and reality just seems to keep growing wider. I try to focus on the little things. The joy of reading a book for an hour before bed, the satisfaction of cooking a meal at home instead of ordering takeout. But even those small victories feel like they come with a price. The time it takes to cook a meal is time I could be spending working, or looking for side gigs. The quiet moments are rare, and I don't take them for granted, but they always feel bittersweet because I know they're just temporary respites in a life that is anything but calm. I'm always looking for ways to stretch my money further. I'll cut coupons, track my spending, find free events to go to instead of paying for entertainment. But at the end of the day, it still feels like I'm just barely keeping my head above water. I'm drowning in all the things I can't afford and all the things I haven't done yet. Sometimes, it feels like the more I try to save, the more my expenses multiply. My student loans, my car payments, health insurance, credit card debt, each of them feels like a weight around my neck. At night, when I lie in bed staring at the ceiling, I wonder if it'll ever change. I wonder if I'll ever get to a place where I'm not constantly anxious about money. I wonder if I'll ever feel secure enough to stop worrying about what might go wrong. Will I ever get to a point where I can live, not just survive? I wish I had a clear answer, a plan, some kind of certainty to hold on to. But all I can do is keep moving forward, keep doing what I can, and hope that somehow, someday, it all starts to make sense. Sometimes, when I let myself dream, I picture a life where money isn't this constant looming presence. Where I can take a vacation, buy something nice without feeling guilty, or just not have to calculate every single purchase I make. I think about a future where I'm not just scraping by, but actually thriving. But dreams feel so far away when reality is this tight, this suffocating. Still, I hold on to those dreams, even if they seem impossible right now. Because without them, I'd have nothing. So I'll keep pushing forward. Maybe I won't have everything I want. Maybe I'll have to let go of some of my dreams for now. But I'll keep dreaming. Because without that, what else is there? I just have to hope it's enough to keep me going until things finally start to change. I woke up this morning with the usual tightness in my chest. It's like an ever-present weight, a constant reminder of the life I'm stuck in. I'm 25, and the last 3 years since I graduated have been a blur of work, stress, and wondering if I'll ever be able to breathe again. My financial reality feels like a vice, slowly tightening around me as my expenses grow faster than my income. Every day, I wake up with this low-level anxiety that follows me through every decision, every small purchase, every step I take. I had dreams when I finished college. I thought that a degree in business would open doors, that a steady job in the city would be the beginning of something solid, something stable. I imagined living comfortably, not worrying about how I would pay rent, or if I could afford gas for my car to get to work. But none of that happened. Instead, I found myself in an entry-level job at a marketing firm, making enough to cover my bills, but just barely. The job isn't bad. It's fine, honestly. But it's not what I hoped for. I had envisioned a more dynamic career, one that would allow me to grow, to challenge myself. Instead, I'm stuck in a cycle of monotonous tasks, working long hours, trying to impress my boss, all while barely keeping up with the rising cost of living. Rent keeps increasing. The gas prices keep going up. Groceries are more expensive. It feels like everything is a struggle. And the pay? Well, it stays the same. I had hoped that after a few years, I'd be promoted, or at least have a raise to help keep up with inflation. But here I am, still making the same amount, still counting the days until payday, still hoping that maybe, just maybe, something will change. But deep down, I know it's not going to. The system isn't built for people like me to get ahead. Every month feels like a balancing act. I write down my expenses, check my bank account, and calculate how much I can spend without going into debt. There's a constant fear of overdraft fees, a constant worry about what happens if something unexpected comes up. I used to think I'd be able to save money for a rainy day, but there's no rainy day fund. There's just scraping by. Every month is a battle, and I'm losing. I don't want to talk about it with my friends. They don't understand. They all seem to have it together, buying new clothes, traveling, going out for dinner without thinking twice. Meanwhile, I'm at home on the weekends, trying to figure out how to stretch the last of my paycheck until the next one. I tell myself it's okay, that I don't need all those things. But sometimes, it's hard not to feel left behind. The dreams I had for myself feel so far away now. I wanted to buy a house, to have my own space, to plant roots. But I can barely afford to rent a small apartment in a city that's becoming more unaffordable by the day. I thought by now I'd have traveled, seen the world, experienced life outside of this bubble. But instead, I find myself stuck in this never-ending cycle of paying bills and trying to keep up with the next cost of living increase. It's not just about the money, though. It's about the emotional toll it takes. There are days when I feel like I'm not good enough, like I'm failing because I can't keep up with the people around me. I feel like I'm running in place, expending all this energy but not getting anywhere. It's exhausting. I try to cope in small ways. I get by with takeout meals and cheap coffee, trying to satisfy the craving for a little indulgence without going over budget. I tell myself that once I get a promotion or a better job, things will get easier. But part of me knows that the truth is, even if I get that raise, it might not be enough to make a real difference. I don't know how much longer I can keep up this charade, pretending that everything is fine when it's not. There are dreams I've had to put on hold, things I've always wanted to do but can't afford. I've always dreamed of going to Europe, of visiting places like Paris, London, and Barcelona. But the thought of taking time off work, of paying for flights and hotels, feels like an impossible fantasy. And then there's the idea of buying a house. How can I even think about that when I'm struggling to make rent each month? I used to think I would get my own place, have a home that I could call mine, but now it feels like something that's never going to happen. I wonder if things will ever change. Will I always feel like this? Will I always be one paycheck away from disaster? Some days, I think about leaving the city, moving somewhere cheaper, but then I realize that I can't afford that either. I feel like I'm stuck in a system that doesn't want to help me, that's built to keep people like me down. I know I'm not alone in this. So many people my age are in the same situation. But that doesn't make it any easier. It's hard to watch others build their lives while I'm still struggling to make ends meet. I try not to compare myself, but it's difficult. When everyone else seems to have it all figured out, it's hard not to feel like I'm falling behind. Sometimes, I wonder what my life would be like if I had a little more breathing room, if I didn't have to worry about money all the time. I dream of a future where I can take vacations, where I can buy the things I want without feeling guilty, where I don't have to choose between paying the bills and saving for the future. But those dreams feel so distant, so far off, that I can barely grasp them. For now, I just keep going. I wake up every morning, put on a brave face, and tell myself that things will get better. But some days, I wonder if they ever will. I try to stay hopeful, but hope feels like a luxury I can't afford. Maybe one day I'll find a way out of this. Maybe I'll get that raise, or maybe I'll find a new job that pays better. Maybe I'll be able to breathe. But for now, I'm just trying to survive. And that's enough for today. I don't know when it started to feel like I was sinking. Maybe it was the moment I realized I wasn't going to be able to pay off my credit card debt anytime soon. Or maybe it was when I checked my bank account last week, and there was barely enough to cover my rent, let alone the groceries or the utilities. Every month, it's the same thing. The balance just keeps slipping, no matter how many times I try to tighten the belt. I'm 25, and I feel like I'm already drowning in the adulting game. It's not that I don't work hard, I do. I wake up early every day to get to my job at a tech startup, answering emails, taking calls, doing everything they ask of me. But somehow, it's never enough. The paychecks come and go, but they don't stretch like they used to. They don't cover what they need to anymore. The rent is high. The gas prices are insane. Insurance premiums keep going up. And then there's food. I'm not talking about ordering fancy meals, I mean just basic things, the stuff I can barely afford. I was raised with the idea that hard work pays off, that if you put your head down and keep at it, you'll get ahead. But at some point, I realized that the rules had changed. The economy feels like it's running at a pace I can't match. The pressure's relentless, like a wave crashing over me, pushing me further down. I try to stay optimistic, try to tell myself it's temporary, but the longer I go on like this, the harder it is to keep that hope alive. At work, there's this constant hum of people talking about promotions, raises, new opportunities. And then there's me, caught in this cycle of just scraping by. I've tried applying for new roles, but every time I think I've found something promising, it slips away. We went with another candidate, or your experience doesn't quite match up. I've stopped trying to negotiate salary because it feels like I'm asking for the impossible. And let's not even talk about the student loans. The monthly payments are a joke, a reminder every single month that I made choices with the future in mind, but the future's looking so much less promising now. Some days, it feels like I'm suffocating. Every dollar feels like it's being accounted for, every decision weighed with the thought of, can I afford this, even if it's just a coffee or a movie ticket? The smallest things that used to bring me joy now feel like luxuries I can't afford. I used to love going out with friends, but lately, it's just too much. If we're getting dinner, I'll have to pick somewhere that doesn't require a tip, just so I can get by. My friends don't get it, or maybe they don't want to, they keep talking about vacations, new gadgets, or their weekend plans. And I just smile, nodding along, while my mind is screaming, I can't even afford a weekend getaway. The emotional toll is the hardest part. I've always been a positive person, the kind who finds silver linings. But lately, it's been harder and harder to hold on to that mindset. I feel isolated. I'm surrounded by people who don't seem to have these same worries. They get raises, I get a bill for my car repair. They talk about investing in property, I talk about my overdue electric bill. And it's not even that I want to compete with them, but it's this constant comparison. It feels like I'm being left behind. I've had to put off so many things. I was supposed to travel this year, that was the plan. A few months in Europe, maybe work remotely from somewhere beautiful. But now, I can't even imagine it. Even the idea of taking a day off feels out of reach. I'm already behind on everything else. How could I justify a vacation when I can barely afford rent? Sometimes, it feels like I'm stuck in this loop. I wake up, go to work, come home, pay bills, maybe get a little time to myself, and then do it all over again. Every day's the same, a blur of just surviving. It's exhausting. And then, at night, when I lay in bed, it's like the weight of the world presses down. I think about my future, about being 30, 40, even 50, and still not having enough to live freely. It terrifies me. The worst part, though, is the guilt. I feel guilty for not being able to do more, for not being able to keep up. I feel guilty for wanting things that seem so basic, financial freedom, a little peace of mind, the ability to dream beyond just making it through another month. I know people have it worse, and that thought always comes up when I'm down. There's always someone worse off, and I try to keep that perspective. But it doesn't always help. It doesn't change the fact that I'm struggling in my own way, and it doesn't stop the panic from creeping in when I check my bank account. There's a part of me that resents the system. The one that tells you to work harder, but then raises the bar so high that no matter how hard you work, you still can't get ahead. I feel like I'm running on a treadmill that just keeps going faster, and no matter how much effort I put in, I'm still stuck in the same place. I want to believe that if I just push a little harder, I'll break free. But then I look around, and I wonder how many others are trapped in this same cycle, too. I've started to feel that maybe my dreams are just fantasies. Things I'll never get to do. The big career, the travel, the life where I don't have to worry about every penny. It's hard not to feel like I'm failing, even though I know I'm not. It's just this feeling that the deck is stacked against me, that no matter how hard I try, it's never going to be enough. I cope by distracting myself. I scroll through social media, watch TV, drown out the anxiety with noise. I focus on the present, because if I think too far ahead, I get scared. Sometimes, I go for a walk, just to get out of my head for a bit. But even then, I'm checking my phone for notifications, waiting for something to tell me that maybe this month, I'll catch a break. And then I try to remind myself that it won't always be like this. At least, I hope it won't. I've told myself that someday, When I get a better paying job or when the economy settles down or when things just click, I'll be okay. But right now, I can't help but feel trapped. Trapped by the weight of my finances, by the choices I've made, by the system that feels like it's working against me, not for me. I think I'm just tired of surviving. I want to live. But I'm not sure how to get there yet. I don't know what the future holds, but I can't shake this feeling that no matter how hard I work, I might always be one step behind. Maybe that's just the way it is now, maybe that's the reality for so many of us in our 20s, trying to make sense of a world where the rules seem rigged. I don't know, but I'm holding on, even if it feels like it's slipping through my fingers. All I can do is keep going. Keep hoping. Keep dreaming, even when it feels impossible. It feels like I'm always running, but I never get anywhere. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating on my nightstand, another notification. Another bill, another reminder of how far behind I'm falling. I roll over, squinting at the bright screen, and try not to think about how late I stayed up last night, staring at my bank account, wondering if the balance would somehow magically increase or if I would wake up to find some opportunity that could change everything. But that's not how things work, is it? I get up, stretch, and head to the kitchen. The kettle boils, but it doesn't do much to soothe the knot in my stomach. I've been feeling it more and more lately. Maybe it's anxiety, maybe it's just the weight of knowing I'm living paycheck to paycheck. I work 2 jobs, one at a coffee shop and another as a part-time receptionist, and neither of them seem to make enough to cover all of this. Rent. Utilities. Gas. Student loans. Groceries. Sometimes I think about giving up, about throwing in the towel. But then what? I'm too scared to imagine the consequences. I make my coffee, sip it as I go over my budget for the month. It's always the same process. I list everything I owe and then figure out where I can cut back. Can I get by without my phone bill this month? Maybe. Can I cancel that subscription to the streaming service I barely use? Sure. But no matter how much I try to trim, I always end up staring at the same number, a figure that feels impossible to reach. I just can't keep up. It's like I'm running a race with no finish line. The more I sprint, the further it seems to move away from me. I get dressed, put on my shoes, and head out the door. As I lock it, I catch sight of the bills stacked on the counter. I don't know how long I've been avoiding them, but it's been a while. I make a mental note to face them when I get back, but I don't know if I actually will. They'll still be there when I return, as they always are, waiting for me to make the next impossible decision. The drive to work is a blur of red lights and traffic. My car's a piece of junk, and every time I start it, I hold my breath, wondering if it'll make it through the day. It's been acting up more recently, but replacing it feels impossible. Between the car payments I can't afford and the insurance I'm barely keeping up with, I'm stuck. Even my phone, the one I check constantly, the one that makes me feel more connected to the world, feels like an anchor around my neck. It's just another bill, another thing I have to juggle. At the coffee shop, the usual faces are there, the regulars who come in for their morning fix, smiling as they place their orders. I try to smile back, but it's hard. The exhaustion is starting to show in my eyes. I'm not sure if they notice, but I notice every little thing about myself, the way I walk slower, the way I always feel like I'm just barely keeping it together. I hand them their lattes and I go through the motions, but I can't stop thinking about what's waiting for me at the end of the shift, another round of bills, another day of feeling like I'm falling short. When the register rings at the end of the day, I already know what it'll say. Not enough. I text my mom during my break, trying to keep up the illusion that everything's fine. "How are you?" she asks. I type out a response, but then I stop. I don't know what to say anymore. I'm always telling her I'm fine, and I know she can sense the lie, but I don't want her to worry. I'm her kid. I'm supposed to have my shit together. I can't let her know how badly I'm struggling. I think about the future. I try to picture what it might look like if I get through this, if I somehow manage to break free from this suffocating cycle. I've always dreamed of traveling, of seeing the world, of doing something meaningful. But those dreams seem farther and farther away every day. It's not just the money, it's the time, too. I don't have enough of it. Between my two jobs, I'm always working or too exhausted to do anything else. There's no space for adventure or growth. I don't know if I can keep postponing it all. The days blur together. I'm a little more tired than I was the day before, but I keep going. I'm getting used to the feeling of being stuck, but it doesn't make it any easier. I remind myself every day that this is temporary, that things will get better, but I don't know if I really believe that anymore. The world feels like it's shifting beneath my feet, and I can't catch up. On the way home from my second job, I drive through the neighborhood and see families sitting outside, enjoying the evening. They're laughing, playing, living. I feel like I'm watching it all from behind a glass wall. I've forgotten what it feels like to be that carefree, to have enough energy and freedom to just live. Every day feels like survival, and even that's a struggle. I pull into my driveway and sit in the car for a moment. The engine ticks, cooling down, but I don't move. I just sit there, staring at the darkened house in front of me. I wonder if I'll ever escape this feeling of being trapped, of constantly fighting a battle I can't seem to win. Every decision, every purchase, every moment feels like it's weighed down by this invisible pressure. I know it's not just me, so many people are in the same boat, paddling furiously, hoping for a change that feels so far out of reach. When I walk inside, the bills are still sitting on the counter, unopened. They'll wait for tomorrow, just like they always do. I make dinner, something quick and cheap, and collapse on the couch. The TV plays in the background, but I'm not really watching it. My mind is elsewhere, spinning with all the things I haven't done, all the things I still want to do, but can't afford. I close my eyes for a second, wishing for something different, something better. But it's just a wish. And tomorrow will be the same as today. More bills, more stress, more running in place. More dreams postponed. I don't know how long I can keep this up. But I keep going anyway. Because what else is there to do? It's hard to put into words, the feeling of watching the world shift and knowing that you're falling further behind. The bills, the rent, the grocery store prices, they all climb higher every month, but my paycheck never seems to follow. It's like I'm on a treadmill that keeps speeding up, but my legs are getting slower, and no matter how hard I run, I can't seem to keep up. I wake up every morning, the buzz of my alarm reminding me that I have to face another day. There's always a moment of stillness, before the thoughts hit, the weight of everything pressing down on my chest. I open my eyes, and it's the same as yesterday, another day to make sure the electricity doesn't get shut off, to buy just enough food to get by, to keep pretending that I've got it under control. It's exhausting. Every decision, even the smallest ones, feels like a battle. At the start of the week, I'll check my bank account, hoping for a miracle. I can usually stretch it out for a few days, but by Wednesday, I'm already counting pennies. Do I buy lunch or just push through and wait for dinner? Can I afford to fill my car with gas, or should I risk not getting to work tomorrow? These are the choices I make every day, like this constant game of survival. The weight of it all is crushing, like the walls are closing in. I try not to let the stress show, especially to my friends and family. Everyone around me is struggling in their own way. We're all in the same boat, paddling as hard as we can, but it feels like we're headed straight for a waterfall and no one knows how to steer us clear. But sometimes I can't help but feel like I'm falling behind even more. My friends talk about their plans, the trips they're taking, the new gadgets they're buying, and all I can do is smile and nod. I can't afford to do any of that. Hell, I'm lucky if I can get a decent pair of shoes without sacrificing something else. I've been postponing dreams for as long as I can remember. When I was younger, I thought I'd have everything figured out by now. Maybe I'd have my own place, or at least be able to go out and not feel guilty about spending money. I had visions of traveling, seeing the world, experiencing things outside of this small bubble I feel stuck in. But the reality is far different. Every month, I look at my paycheck and try to make sense of it. The rent is due. The student loan payment stares me down like an unforgiving judge. Then there's the car insurance, the utilities, and, of course, the food. I used to love cooking, but now it's just about what I can get the cheapest. I've become a master at stretching a dollar, but even with all the budgeting, it's never enough. Sometimes I wonder how it got this way. How did I end up here, struggling just to stay afloat? I was told if I worked hard, things would get better. That's what they all said. Work hard, be responsible, and eventually, you'll be able to buy a house, take care of yourself, and live a comfortable life. But now, it feels like the goalposts keep shifting, moving farther away no matter how fast I run. I know I'm not the only one. I see it everywhere, people who are just as tired, just as worn down, trying to figure out how to keep going. It's like we're all trapped in a system that's designed to keep us on the edge, always one step away from falling into a pit we can't climb out of. I don't want to sound bitter, but sometimes it's hard not to feel like the world's playing a game where the rules are rigged. I cope the only way I know how, by keeping my head down and pushing through. I've learned to say no more often than I'd like. I've learned to ignore the nagging feeling that there's something more out there for me, something better. I've learned to tell myself that I'll get to it someday, even if someday feels a million miles away. It's easier to bury my dreams under layers of responsibility, because when I let myself think about them, it's too painful to realize that they're slipping away. I used to have big plans, travel, move to a city I loved, maybe even start a business. Now, all I can think about is surviving the next day. The weight of those dreams, once so vibrant, is slowly turning to dust. I don't talk about it much because I don't want people to feel sorry for me, but deep down, I know. I know that the person I once was, the person with big hopes and plans for the future, is fading. Every day, I feel it just a little more. Sometimes, I let myself imagine what life would be like if I didn't have to worry constantly about money. What would I do with the extra time, the extra energy? Would I finally learn how to play the guitar, or take that pottery class I've been talking about for years? Would I call my friends and actually be able to make plans that don't revolve around finding the cheapest place to eat or worrying about the bus fare? Would I be able to breathe without this tightness in my chest? I don't know anymore. It feels like those things are so far out of reach, like they're reserved for other people who somehow have figured it all out. I try not to let the despair swallow me, even when it feels like it's inching closer every day. There are moments when I'll find myself sitting on the couch, just staring at the ceiling, and for a second, it's almost like everything stops. There's no deadline, no bill due, no pressure. It's just me, and the stillness, and the knowledge that I can't hold on to this calm for long before the weight comes crashing back. I've tried everything to break free. I've looked into side gigs, tried to cut down on unnecessary things, and even contemplated moving to a cheaper area, but I know it wouldn't be enough. The cycle feels endless. The goalposts keep moving, and no matter how hard I try, I can't seem to catch up. But I'm still here, and that's something. I don't know how long I can keep this up, but I'll keep going for now. For today, I'll take it one step at a time. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Maybe the next paycheck will stretch just a little bit further. Maybe, just maybe, things will turn around. Until then, I'll keep pretending that I'm okay, even if deep down, I know I'm not. It's strange how the pressure builds slowly, almost imperceptibly, until one day you realize it's too much to carry. I'm 26, and I feel like I've been stuck in the same place for years. Not in a literal sense, physically, I'm still moving, working, doing what I can to make ends meet. But mentally and emotionally, I feel trapped. Trapped in a cycle of endless bills, constant worry, and the crushing realization that no matter how hard I work, things don't seem to get any easier. When I graduated from college, I had hope. I had a dream that my degree in communications would open doors for me. I was ambitious, ready to take on the world. I imagined myself thriving in a creative career, earning enough to live comfortably, even maybe buy a house one day. I thought I'd be able to take vacations, eat at nice restaurants, and have enough left over to save for the future. But none of that has happened. Instead, I landed a job at a marketing firm. It's a fine job, don't get me wrong. It pays the bills, but just barely. I'm in a constant state of imbalance, where every paycheck feels stretched and fragile. Rent, utilities, insurance, and the countless other costs that come with adulthood consume most of my income. And then there are the unexpected expenses, the car breaking down, the medical bill that shows up, the occasional splurge I allow myself to feel normal. Each day feels like I'm running a race I'll never win. I wake up, check my bank account, and mentally prepare myself for what I can and can't afford today. My morning routine has become about calculating the least amount I can spend to survive the day. Do I need lunch? Can I make it through without a coffee? Is it worth the mental strain to go to that social event and spend money I don't have? Every choice feels like a small sacrifice, each one pushing me further from the person I thought I would be. I've tried budgeting, tracking every expense down to the last penny. But it never seems to be enough. It feels like my expenses are growing faster than my income, and I can't outrun it. Rent has gone up in the past 2 years. Gas prices? Through the roof. Groceries? Even worse. It's like everything I need to live is becoming more expensive, but my paycheck doesn't reflect that reality. It's frustrating, and it's isolating. I've watched friends from college move into their own homes, take expensive vacations, and buy new clothes every season. Meanwhile, I'm working 2 jobs, barely scraping by, too afraid to make any big decisions. I think about what they must think when they hear me say, I can't afford that, or I'm not sure if I can make it this month. I feel like I'm failing, even though I know I'm doing my best. I feel stuck. There's this sense of not being able to move forward, even though I'm doing everything I can to stay afloat. Some days, I wonder what the point is. I've had dreams that now feel impossible. I thought by now I'd be traveling, maybe to Europe, or at least to some other part of the country I've never been to. I thought I'd be saving for a home, working towards something more permanent. But the dream of homeownership seems laughable now. The idea of taking a trip to another country? Forget it. The only vacation I get is a few days off around the holidays, and even then, I'm still worried about what bills I'll miss paying while I'm gone. It's hard to stay hopeful when the odds feel so stacked against me. I try to stay positive, to remind myself that things could get better. But honestly, I don't know if they will. It's hard to see a way out when the system feels rigged, when it seems like no matter how much you work, you're always at the mercy of rising costs and stagnant wages. I've heard people say things like just work harder, but the truth is, I am working hard. I'm giving everything I've got, and it's still not enough. And then there's the emotional toll. There's a constant low-level anxiety that I carry with me, that gnawing fear that one day I won't be able to make ends meet. I try to compartmentalize it, push it away, but it's always there, lurking in the back of my mind. I lie awake at night, thinking about my student loan payments, wondering if I'll ever get out of debt. I think about the future. Will I always be stuck in this cycle? Will I ever be able to afford the things I dream of? I try to cope in small ways. I've stopped going out with friends as much. I can't afford it, and I can't handle the guilt that comes with spending money I don't have. I cook at home as much as possible, and I've learned to love the cheap meals that don't take much effort. But it's not just about the money. It's about the feeling of being left out, of missing out on life because I can't afford it. It's about not being able to keep up with the world around me, and feeling like I'm falling behind while everyone else is moving forward. The hardest part is letting go of the things I used to dream about. I wanted to travel. I wanted to experience the world, to have stories to tell, to go on adventures. But now, my adventure is finding ways to stretch $1, to make it to the next paycheck. I wanted to buy a house, to build a life in a space that was truly mine. But how can I afford a house when I can barely afford to pay rent? I remind myself that I'm not alone, that so many people my age are struggling too. But sometimes that doesn't make it feel any better. It doesn't take away the sense of failure that creeps in when I see others living lives I can only dream of. It doesn't change the fact that I feel like I'm stuck in a system that isn't designed for me to succeed. I try to hold on to the hope that things will change. That one day, I'll have enough to breathe easy, that I'll be able to pursue my dreams without constantly worrying about money. But right now, the dream feels distant. And all I can do is keep pushing, keep working, and keep hoping that one day it won't feel like I'm drowning. For now, I'm just surviving. And some days, that's enough. I wake up to the sound of my phone vibrating on the nightstand. It's a reminder, the kind I've come to expect, telling me about a payment due, a bill that's overdue, or a charge that I hadn't thought about. I swipe it away with a groan, feeling the weight of another day pressing down on me before I've even opened my eyes. I sit up slowly, rubbing my face. The light from the window is too bright, but I don't have the energy to pull the blinds. The room feels smaller than it should, the walls closing in a little tighter every morning. I've been in this apartment for nearly 2 years now, and while it's one of the cheapest places I could find, it's starting to feel less like a home and more like a holding pen, somewhere I'm stuck, just passing time. The apartment is small, with barely enough room for the basic necessities, but I've learned to live with it. My bed takes up most of the space, and the kitchen is just a corner where the microwave seems to have become my closest friend. I don't have a dining table, a couch, or even a full set of plates. Just what I need to get by. I get up, shuffle to the kitchen, and start making coffee. The machine hums to life, the steam rising as I stare out the window at the gray morning. Some days, I can barely bring myself to leave the apartment. The world outside feels like a place where everyone has it figured out, and I'm just trying to stay afloat. But then there's the reality, the bills, the rent, the loan repayments, the cost of food and gas and everything that keeps rising while my paychecks stay the same. I check my bank account before I leave the apartment. My stomach tightens as the numbers flash across the screen. The balance is lower than I expected, and the upcoming bills are already looming over me. My heart races for a second. How did I get here again? It's not even the end of the month, and I'm already struggling. It feels like I'm constantly treading water, but the waves just keep coming faster. I close the app and leave, grabbing my jacket as I head out the door. The cold hits me hard when I step onto the sidewalk. It's a sharp reminder that life doesn't care about how you feel, about what you've been through. The world just keeps moving forward, indifferent to the weight of the struggle. I walk to work, keeping my head down, my thoughts heavy with the knowledge that I'm behind. My job doesn't pay much, just enough to cover rent and the basic bills, but not enough to save. Not enough to breathe. I used to dream of what I could do with extra cash, maybe buy a new phone, upgrade my laptop, or even take a vacation. But those dreams feel so far away now, like they belong to someone else, not someone whose every decision is shaped by the need to survive. Work is no better. The office feels like a prison sometimes. It's not that my coworkers are bad people, they're just as stuck as I am. We all keep our heads down, doing the work we need to do, just getting through the day. The hours drag on, and I can feel the weight of every minute spent there, knowing that I'm giving away pieces of myself for a paycheck that doesn't add up. I don't get many breaks, and when I do, it's usually spent in a coffee shop, sipping a mediocre latte and scrolling through job listings or budgeting apps, as if they'll magically provide a way out. But nothing changes. The jobs listed feel like they require a different version of me, someone with more experience, more confidence, more skills. Someone who isn't trapped in this cycle. I've started skipping meals to make ends meet, or opting for the cheapest food I can find, even if it means living off instant noodles for a week. It's not healthy, but it's easier to ignore hunger than the looming debt that's never far from my mind. Sometimes, I don't even think about food at all until my stomach growls loudly in the middle of the night, and I realize I've gone hours without eating because I couldn't afford it. It's not just food or rent, it's everything. Gas prices go up, groceries get more expensive, and there's always something unexpected. Last month, it was a car repair. This month, my phone broke. There's always something. And every time I think I can get ahead, something new comes along to knock me back. The hardest part is the feeling of being trapped in this system. I've done everything I was supposed to do, worked hard, got a degree, found a job, but it still feels like I'm spinning my wheels. My expenses grow faster than my income, and there's no way to catch up. It's like being stuck in a race where the finish line keeps moving further away. I try to remind myself that things could be worse, that I should be grateful for what I have. But it's hard to feel grateful when the anxiety never goes away, when I can't plan for the future because I'm too focused on just getting through today. I used to have dreams, big dreams of traveling, of maybe moving to a different city, of finding a job that actually paid enough to support a decent life. But those dreams feel distant now, like they're part of a past version of me that I can't quite recognize anymore. It's hard to hold on to those dreams when reality feels so suffocating. I know I'm not alone in this. I see it in the faces of my friends, in the tiredness behind their eyes, in the way they talk about work or money. We all try to put on a brave face, but it's clear we're all struggling. We're all trying to make it through, just barely keeping our heads above water. I don't talk about it much, though. It's easier to keep my feelings hidden, to pretend like everything is fine. Sometimes, I tell myself that if I just keep pushing, keep working, it'll get better eventually. But deep down, I don't know if it will. It feels like I'm stuck in a system that's designed to keep me here, to keep me from ever getting ahead. At night, when I lie in bed, I think about what my future could look like. Will I ever be able to take a vacation without stressing about the cost? Will I ever be able to save for something big, like a house or a car? Or will I be stuck like this forever, watching as the cost of living rises while my paychecks stay the same? The truth is, I don't know. Some days, the hope feels like it's slipping away, replaced by a quiet resignation. Other days, I tell myself that maybe things will change, maybe something will come along and lift me out of this cycle. But even as I say it, I wonder if I'm just trying to convince myself, because I don't know what else to do. In the end, it's not just about money. It's about the toll this pressure takes on my emotional well-being, on my sense of self-worth. I try to remind myself that I'm doing my best, that I'm not a failure, but it's hard not to feel like one when the numbers never seem to add up. When it feels like I'm working so hard just to keep from sinking. I guess I'll just keep going, keep doing what I can, even if it feels like a never-ending uphill climb. Because what else is there to do? But sometimes, just sometimes, I wonder what it would be like to not always be worried, to not always be scrambling. To be able to dream again without that constant weight on my shoulders. I wonder if that version of me is still out there, somewhere, waiting to break free. Until then, I'll just keep moving forward. One day at a time. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.